But what I encourage people that are going on the show or want to be on the show, it's not your big break. Most people go back to waiting tables.
You have an open and submissive heart. It's amazing what can happen in 2 minutes. It's really more about the soil in which that seed's going into.
Right. To what end are we going to critique and find the perfect thing when really the sole purpose of gathering is to talk about the glory of God, experience the glory of God, and serve people.
We do so much commentary on Jesus, right? We go to church and there's commentary on Jesus.
Right.
And YouTube's But I think that the equipping of the saints is actually getting on the mat and getting to know Jesus together. Hey, it's Rich, and you're listening to the Mature Me podcast, weekly content devoted to all things life, leadership, culture, and faith. Thank you for taking some time to tune in. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode. Right now in this season, we are calling this Mature Me on the Move. We're actually doing these pods out of the RV stream all over the state of Florida, having a good time. But on this podcast, you know what it's about. It's all about not just growing old, but growing up, talking about becoming the better version of yourself. And we're just glad that you're tuned in. Do us a favor right now, like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. You know, all the things we ask you to do. One of the things that the team wanted me to mention to you is that if you are trying to get better as a leader, check out richwilgersonjr.com. Get that free leadership email. It comes out every Tuesday morning. Close to 10,000 people subscribing to that now, every Tuesday getting that. We want to get that into your hands. We really believe as a leader gets better, everyone around you gets better. But as you know, we are on the road to VUCon. We are on a 400-mile run over the state of Florida for 40 days. And so along the way, we're just picking up guests and friends of mine. And today I'm pumped because my friend is on tour, happens to be somewhere in an undisclosed area in the state of Florida. He's midway through his tour. But today we're joined by artist, singer, songwriter, finalist on The Voice, but more importantly than all that stuff, husband and father, worship leader. This is my friend Bodie, everybody.
What
I think we're doing hand claps out here in the Airstream.
Yeah,
how do you like my Airstream, man?
Dude, it's giving Jurassic Park meets like luxurious Airstream. I'm into it.
We're not even going to tell people where we are, but we are in some bizarre campground. This is like, you ever watch, Steve-O? He does his entire podcast from an RV. Always.
Oh yeah. Totally.
So when we started this, it kind of was like, this has got a Steve-O vibe to it.
Yeah, I'm into it. Go anywhere you want.
How are you, Bodie?
I'm good.
You're midway through a tour.
Yes.
Tell us the best city so far and maybe the toughest city so far.
The best city, man. Kansas City, Missouri was fun.
That was fire.
Yeah, they've all been great. Yeah.
You're so.
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna say the worst city. There's no way.
Yeah. How about Biloxi?
It's been great.
Bro, I'm so honored that you're on today, and you're someone that I've followed from afar. I think we've kind of DM'd a little bit throughout the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But man, I just think your story's so cool. Like, I first became aware of you when you were on The Voice, crushing Brandon Lake's Gratitude, and I didn't really know much about your story. But now, of course, you're also working with those guys over at Oceans and worship leading. Take us back a little bit, because I think people probably see you on social media. You've got a new record out right now. You're on tour. Tell us a little bit about how you even got into all this stuff, man. Like, how did you start singing and stuff?
Yeah, I grew up in LA. My parents were actors in Hollywood and waiting tables to support, our little apartment we lived in. And it was the LA artist life for a long time for me. And dad was a touring bass player in a band. So the whole stage thing was very normal. And the performance thing was very normal. And so I always just kind of had that instilled in me, just expression through art and performance. They also love the Lord. So I always kind of grew up in Vineyard. So very much in the charismatic movement of Vineyard Church. And then fast forward to middle school. Even before that, 10 years old, started making music, started producing at like 12. And just kind of kept going, fell in love with serving the church. My mom was a children's pastor for a lot of my life, so was leading worship for children's church at 11, 12, 13, and really never stopped. That was when I started leading, and I've been leading in church ever since.
So what kind of a band was your dad in?
Rock band, like hardcore, playing, the gnarly venues. He ended up stepping away because of how just gnarly it was, and you can't, it's really hard to raise a family in the environment he was in. So
Sure. It
he
wasn't
stepped
like
away.
it wasn't like Christian Petra or like Striper.
Not even close.
Do you know either one of those bands?
Yeah, of course. And it wasn't that. It was cool, but it wasn't.
Do you think like Petra and like Striper, like were they bigger than we actually thought they were, or like in terms of like music back then? I feel like now today there's independent artists and streaming,
Yeah.
but like some of these names that came and emerged, like how big was Striper? We have no idea.
I have
like,
no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like Petra put out all these records, like you had to make these CDs and tape cassettes, like someone to distribute that. Somebody was making some money.
Yeah, for sure. That was an era.
It was an era.
That was an era.
I don't know. I wonder, by the way, if you're listening right now and you were in Petra or Striper, I would love to talk to you on Mature Me, right? How good would that be?
That'd
It's
be
like, they got to be out there doing something.
Yeah, bring me
right?
back for that one. That'd be sick.
As a kid, like, were you allowed to listen to all types of music?
Yeah.
Or like, so was it a strict home you grew up in? Like,
No, that was a big part of, for better or for worse, honestly. My dad got saved at a Harvest Crusade, like pretty quickly, or pretty close to when I was born. So it was like pretty fresh in his faith.
you guys are some real California Christians.
Oh yeah.
Your dad got saved at a Harvest Crusade.
Yeah. And what's cool is I got to play it last year's. And so it was really special, 30
Full
years
circle.
later, being able to be a part of that. But yeah, so I grew up on grunge and rock music and secular, and lived at a church essentially because my mom was there all the time. So it was a really cool, healthy, my dad had his hand on the volume, turn it down whenever there's the bad stuff in there. But so I grew up with a heavy appreciation for rock and grunge music first, and then found my way into hip hop when I was a little bit older. And even reggae, ska, living by the beach,
Yep.
so it was a very healthy balance of a lot of different genres.
Have you ever heard of a name Lonnie Frisbee before?
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I feel like, when it comes to California and the Jesus Revolution and Vineyard and Calvary Chapel,
Yep.
that name is intertwined with all of those
Definitely.
movements. It's so interesting because I think Greg Laurie put out that movie, The Jesus Revolution,
Mhm.
and that was like Lonnie was in there, but somehow when I was like in high school, I started hearing that name. Was it high school? It must have been the end of high school, but somehow I ended up buying like a documentary independent filmmakers made on Lonnie Frisbee.
Huh.
And I kind of became borderline obsessed with this guy.
Rad.
Just because it was such a unique story of this guy that was so rough around the edges, that was clearly used by God,
Yeah.
clearly anointed, who had a massive role in two incredible church movements, Christian movements.
Yeah.
But in so many ways, like the name was sort of forgotten based upon, some lifestyle decisions and him not all the way, his sanctification process being
Sure.
pretty rough.
Sure.
So I just always found it fascinating. It was cool that in Jesus Revolution that he was all in the story, that they,
So
they
rad.
kept him in the history books,
That's awesome. Yeah.
I never went to a Vineyard church before.
Yeah. It's cool. It was,
Feels a lot like Calvary Chapel, or it feels
no, it's the one I was called Malibu Vineyard, and
Yep.
it was Malibu. So you're talking like,
bro, that Malibu Vineyard's like famous.
yeah. And yeah, dude, the worship was insane. Like the worship culture in that church, the children's ministry was popping. I'm not just biased because it was my mom. Like it was incredible. Bono went there. A
Yeah.
lot of like very interesting people went there. Tommy Lee, Pamela Anderson
Is
went
that
there.
church still going?
No. We were there for the final.
Yeah.
It split and it unfortunately kind of dissolved, but very charismatic. And
But it was a real move of God, right? Because
Yeah, man.
I know so many people from different walks
It's
of
a
life
special
and cross
church.
that really were impacted by that church.
yeah.
So interesting to hear you say.
We were
you
there
say that.
for a lot of it, most of it.
So you're getting done with high school, like you're serving the Lord in high school, and you're making
Yes.
music at that point.
Yes. And I haven't really shared this a whole lot, but lately I felt kind of a release to let this, not because I'm hiding it, but just because there's a lot of other cool things happening. But this is
Yeah.
a story I think that's worth telling now. But I got expelled my senior year from high school
Okay.
while leading worship at youth group every week,
Okay.
and selling weed to my friends on the side. And,
Really?
I felt invincible. And I thought, as long as I, set these rules for myself and justified, this lifestyle, I could live two ways, and ended up throwing away a sports career, and God really met me. And that was probably the first time where I felt so much shame. It was hard for me to believe that I could still be loved the same way I was before I made these decisions. And I was woken up the night I got caught. I was in my room, just devastated. My parents are a wreck. My youth pastor is so shocked. All my true friends.
Because this
are
was
just
a
blown
total
away.
secret.
Yeah. And I was woken up 3 times in my sleep by the Holy Spirit. And I felt a tangible presence of comfort and peace and love. And so that was when I really was like, okay, if I want this, if I want to claim this, and I really want to follow Jesus, like I need to first acknowledge like this thing's real, and he desperately wants a relationship with me and not just a halfway thing. And so that's what changed everything. So yes, I followed the Lord in high school. Yes, I was leading worship in high school, and I loved the Lord and I heard from the Lord in high school, but I was still just a dumb high school kid making stupid decisions.
And you said, what do you mean by sports career? You're an athlete too?
Yeah.
I hate you.
Football and track was
and people like you, bro, this is unbelievable. You're a 5 talent guy.
Whatever.
I'm the one guy. Well, I didn't bury it. I put the 2 talents to work. But what'd you play?
I played football, and then I ran track. Those were my main. And yeah, I was
fairly good at it.
I was fairly good at it. I wouldn't have gone past college, but was trying to go D1 with that.
So talk to me about, what do you mean like you're selling weed? Like what does this look like? Like how are you getting this weed?
I had 2 different.
This is the part of the testimony I'm not telling other people. What does that mean? Like how's nobody know about this?
I don't know. It was short lived. It was a few weeks.
Okay.
But I went in hot, and I went in hot. I made a bunch of money. I was selling for multiple people, and I told God, it was the night before I got caught. I said, Lord, obviously I can't do this anymore. I felt the conviction.
Yeah.
You know what it was? My rule was, as long as I'm not smoking it, I can sell it. And then I started smoking it.
Yeah. Getting high on your own supply.
Getting high on my own supply. And I'll read the Bible while I'm smoking. At least,
Did you get any crazy revelation?
No, dude. Okay. I was sitting there reading the same line over and over again. And I remember that night I was like, all right, Lord, I'm not going to stop because I owe money. Like I don't know what to do.
I owe money, bro.
But
like Breaking Bad.
Get me out of it. And the next morning before the first class started, cops came in and got me. So it was totally Lord. Like
this was more than like the principal. This was This got
I
legal.
arrested. Yeah. And so and this was pre-legalization of weed too. So it was like felony on possession on campus, possession with intent to sell, possession with intent to sell to minors.
It was
like 7
traumatic
felonies.
moment in your life that changed.
Yeah, it changed everything.
So hold on, you got to take us in this. Are you in class?
Yeah, it was before class started.
Okay, what period? Like
first period, bro. It was
early in the morning.
The class even started. It was like 8 a.m.
Have you caught in wind that cops are coming to get you?
No, I had no idea. But as soon as the campus cop came in, I was like excited.
This is me.
I was like, thank you, God. Like I was like done. It was embarrassing. Like I didn't want to do this anymore.
But the cops came in and escorted you out?
Yeah. The campus cop escorted me out. And then when I was up there, the detectives and all that.
Did you become kind of notorious after that? Like,
no, I got expelled, man. No, I just, the people that I ratted out wanted to kill me. It wasn't like
You ratted people out?
Yeah, I had. Bro, I was so done. And it was like my friend. It wasn't like, it wasn't dangerous. It was just like the tool that I was selling with.
Yeah, Luke did it too.
Yeah.
Bro, how did you get the name Bodie?
I don't know. My
Such a good name.
dad's just a surfer, and they don't have a story. I get asked this and they expect some like crazy cool story. They were like, it was day 3 of me being on the planet, and they're like, we still don't have a name. And then my dad was like, what about Bodie? I'm like, okay, sick. And now every kid's getting named Bodie. It's making me
really?
mad. Yeah, dude.
It's weird when you name your kids, because I thought like all my kids' names were very like kind of unique, or at least I hadn't heard them a lot. And now I
have a Goldie, and now every little girl on the planet is named Goldie. I'm like, come on.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
One of the greatest movies ever, Keanu Reeves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You already know about this?
Yeah.
Is that your whole life, or?
Yeah. But what's funny is
Was it Patrick Swayze?
My dad's
Gary
dad
Busey?
said that wasn't the inspiration for it.
Really?
So I don't know.
Well, I'm trying to think if that movie was out. You're born in 94?
93.
93. What year did that movie come out? What's that movie called?
Point Break.
Point Break, bro.
Yeah.
That movie changed my life.
Dude, I've never watched it. I think partially because I'm biased.
Bodie.
They always think that's why.
No.
Okay, fine.
A couple things. You got to watch this movie.
Okay.
And you'll be. I guess I'm saying stuff that I shouldn't be saying, in the sense that like Patrick Swayze plays his character named Bodie, who's like the coolest guy ever. Yeah. Now they are bank robbers, so I can't glorify sin. You know what I mean? But I'm just going, he's like so cool.
But like off the record, I should see this movie type vibe.
Yes. Okay. This is Gary Busey's pinnacle of his career. Keanu Reeves, some of his finest work, bro.
Right.
Speed, Point Break, and they remade Point Break. But
I did hear about that. It wasn't as good though, right? Or
no, it's not as good. Point Break, from what I wonder what year that was made. Probably. Maybe it could have been after you were born, to be honest with you.
You think so?
I bet it's a 94,
somewhere around
95, there. Yeah. I don't know, but fantastic movie. But Patrick Swayze is so cool in that movie. someone's going to get mad that I'm glorifying bank robbers.
Whatever.
But they're like surfers that kind of rob for a season and then they go surf all summer. You know, they just never, they're chasing the waves.
Dude,
man.
I gotta watch it. All right.
Bodie.
I'll watch it.
You know who else is in that? Is Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
No way.
Yeah, Anthony Kiedis and Flea are in it, and they're bad guys.
Oh, that's sick.
And Bodie's a bad guy too, but he's like a good bad guy. Does that make sense?
I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of. It's kind of like you when you were in your senior year, like you were kind of like selling marijuana, like kind of like, I could maybe tithe on this money,
exactly.
and I can like, maybe I'm just gonna help people. I'm not gonna smoke it, and then you kind of fall into the trap,
exactly.
But Keanu Reeves undercover. I'll spare everyone the details of Point Break, but they should go watch it. Like just so deep in it. So where do you go after high school?
So I at that point,
was that like a come to Jesus moment? Like, Lord, I repent.
Yeah,
arrested?
It was more of just I was super embarrassed. So at that point, graduated early just through a charter school. They were gonna let me walk if I went back to school, but it's just there was so many rules about like I couldn't do this or that. So I was like, I'll just graduate early. Ended up considering a couple D2 schools for football, actually one specifically, and then I toured Vanguard University in Orange County.
I toured that school.
Such a good school, and ended up going on for the track for the decathlete to be their decathlete. And
Bruce Jenner.
I ended up
Come on, Rich.
I ended up quitting and just pursuing music hardcore, and now I teach there. So it was a really special full circle in Vanguard. So
okay, there's a lot said there. Number one, you were going to be. How do you say that word? A decathlon?
Decathlete, yeah, decathlon.
How does one get into that? You
because I was big, but I was fast enough.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't super fast, but like I ran anchor for 4x1 at my high school. It was,
okay.
So like I could run, but decathlete's just it's like pole vault, but you're also throwing and you're also doing hurdles and so it's like doing 10 events.
Yep.
But I never actually had to do it because I quit before.
You said I'm done doing that.
Yeah, I just went head first in the music.
Vanguard, I went and looked at that. Like, isn't that on the beach or near the beach?
It's really close. Yeah, it's
bro,
like 8 minutes from Newport.
Oh, there's like all these surfboards outside the dorm
It's the
rooms,
best.
and I was like, oh, I think the Lord's calling me here, Dad. And he's like, you're not moving this far. I was like, but Dad, I really feel like
I feel the presence of.
I really feel like the Holy Spirit's like saying, like, it's weird. I went to bed and I saw like a V in my sleep. What does that mean? He was like, that means I don't know. So you went there.
I went there 4 years, met my wife there, and love it.
And you're serving Jesus, and you're leading. Is that what you were? You've been a worship leader all those years?
Yeah, I studied worship ministry there, so that was like all in.
And was your thought like I'm going to be a worship pastor?
Yeah. And that's what I did for 4 years after graduating. Moved to Phoenix with my wife. Started our family in Phoenix.
So tell me about that because I don't know any of this.
Yeah,
So you go to Vanguard.
Went to Vanguard.
I'm serving the Lord.
Yeah,
I love the church.
Still making stupid decisions, but just dumb Christian college kid decisions.
I get
crazy.
It.
And met my wife freshman year, pursued her until she finally let me talk to her and give me her
Where's
number.
she from?
She's from Washington State.
That's where, I was born in Washington State.
No way.
Tacoma.
She's in Spokane.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Her name is Royale?
Royale. Yeah.
Royale. What a cool name.
Yeah, she's the best. She's the best human on this planet. Insanely creative, beautiful.
I just love people from the Northwest, bro. I mean,
they're cool. They're mysterious.
Yeah, very mysterious. I'm very mysterious.
Yeah, you're very mysterious.
You have no idea what I'm thinking right now. I'm like Twilight.
Dude, you're wearing camo. I don't even know what's under that right now.
Bro, we're out in the middle of nowhere.
I know. We can hide.
Why are we both in camo, by the way?
I don't know.
This is funny, man. I didn't even realize that we're both literally in camo right now.
We could go out there and never be found.
I think we should start a whole thing, you and me, man, like just a pod,
camo bros,
like two guys, like camo pod. Okay, we just can't. By the way, your social media stuff is my favorite stuff.
Thank you.
We're gonna talk about that in a second.
Cool.
So you marry her. You go to Phoenix. Where do you go there?
Yeah, Lincoln Heights Christian Church, small community church in Phoenix, and I was the weekend experience pastor there.
How do you get that job? How does someone?
Friend of a friend. Yeah, a friend reached out to Vanguard. Was like, hey, do you know any worship leaders? And it ended up being me. It was great, awesome experience.
Why were you the guest? What does that mean? What is a guest?
It was what was it? Worship experience pastor.
Okay, worship experience.
And so I basically did everything but kids and preach. So I oversaw all volunteer teams, all media, all web, and all the worship.
You did that for 4 years.
For 4 years. Loved it. It was hard. I was 21 helping, the number 2 at a church with very little experience. Learned a lot.
And how did from there you rerouted to where?
Back to California.
Okay.
And at that point we had been building a photo video business, and that was kind of we just felt that there's a red bird out there. Is that that's not a cardinal, right? No.
It's definitely a cardinal.
Okay, that was sick.
Like saying they're like I didn't even see it. It's
that was
definitely a cardinal.
Definitely.
It's a rare cardinal.
Yeah. Yeah. So we just felt the grace lift. We're like, nothing bad happened. Honestly, it was really painful to leave because everything was great, and we were planning on being there forever. And it was just God said it was.
Were
time.
you writing music there, or you were just like?
So that's where the Bodie project started. Was like right when I moved to Phoenix. Prior to that, I went under a different name. And so this was like, I came to Phoenix, started my thing, started getting traction. First sellout show was in Phoenix. Like Phoenix was kind of my hometown for music. So it always holds a special place in my heart. But yeah, ended up moving back in 2019 and did the photo video thing for a while.
So you would have been, what, 26 at that point, 25 when you moved back?
Yeah.
25. You've been married 25. For how long already?
10 years next month.
So at that point you were
like
5 years in?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years
5 years in. When did you guys start having kids?
We had 2 kids when we moved back, and we had our 3rd in California. So now we're done. We're done.
And so how did you end up at Oceans?
Right,
Oceans Church, by the way, people are listening because we're just like using all this insider language.
Yeah.
Mark Francie, good friend of mine for many years.
Yeah.
Back when he was in Idaho.
Yeah.
Wow. He used to do these really cool young adult nights. I think it was called the Egyptian Theater. It was this cool theater in whatever town they were in. It was all like Egypt vibes on the inside, but he would have me come out for those things. It was really, really dope.
That's sick.
But Oceans Church is in Orange County.
Yep.
Popping off.
The baptized event that just happened.
Gosh,
over 7,700 people got baptized at Huntington Beach.
What are we talking about?
And it was my first night of tour. I wasn't even there. I was so mad.
Dude, it looked amazing.
Dude,
it looked
insane.
amazing.
Insane.
But yeah, how did you get linked up with those guys?
Weird story. My mom happened to be dating and like close to engaged to Pastor Rochelle, which is Mark's wife, her cousin, one of the Smiths, Pastor Jay Smith, and he's amazing. We love him. And they had a cool relationship for a little bit and ended up not working out. But in that season, he was like, we had just moved back. We were living with my mom in San Diego for like a month, figuring out why the heck God had us move back. And he's like, hey, there's a church in Orange County. I heard you're trying to move to Orange County. Check out Oceans. They meet at Capo High School. And it was like maybe 150 people meeting in a high school gymnasium or a high school theater. And we went and checked it out and kind of ruined our lives because we were like, I don't ever want to be anywhere else now. This is our church. So
wow.
I contracted at churches for a little bit. And then I was like, I gotta figure out how to pay the bills somewhere else because I gotta be at this church every Sunday. So
did you ever consider just like doing that full time?
Yeah. I had a couple conversations with Pastor Mark about, I said like, hey, hire me. Like I would love to just do this. I'd love to build with you full time. And he was so graceful and so sweet. And basically was like, no, we're not. Like just keep, their philosophy is very much so like, serve the church like it's your job. And then if it works out, cool. Like we'll bring you on. So it's created a really cool culture. Like I've been serving there very actively for basically since the beginning. So since 2019, and I've always been volunteer. And a lot of us have that same story just because like we were just so bought in. Yeah. And I'm so glad I'm not full-time there because now I get to do this. And I think he saw that.
Totally.
So yeah, at one point I was very forward with him. And I was so glad that he didn't say
You're like, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
But he's like,
humbly, I was just like, I want to do this. You know, I don't want to shoot for law firms anymore, making videos for lawyers. Like I want to do the church thing. But it was so growing, man. Like my whole identity was wrapped around in a somewhat healthy, but somewhat unhealthy way, wrapped around like vocational ministry is who I am. Yep. And it was really hard for me to understand that like, I'm not needed and God could use anyone. And he was using other people. And it took several years, David Ryan Cook coming in and me verbally saying to him, hey, this is hard for me, but like, I'm so happy you're here. And I want to learn from you. I submit to your leadership. And that like unlocked so much healing for me. And now we have this super rad, healthy thing going with 4 core artists and then a ton of other amazing worship leaders and musicians. And I'm more than happy not being the guy. And it took years to learn that.
I do think worship ministry is one of those like interesting kind of spaces in church where, you know, as a pastor, it's like we can go to the Corinthians that we all are different parts of the body. We all function. And that is the scriptural basis and premise. But it does feel at times that there's a different feeling for the guy who serves in the parking lot versus the guy who serves on the worship team. Yeah. Whereas I think that when you're leading worship, it many times does feel like a real clear extension of you because it's your art.
Totally.
And so it feels precious. Yeah. I'm not saying that someone doesn't feel really called to helping in the parking lot and serving the gifts of hospitality. Right. But I think you start to kind of jump into ego a little bit more, or this is hard for me to detach this thing that I'm doing from who I am. Yeah. And I think so many times it feels like to me, just my experience growing up in church, that things can go sour really quick when it's just a bunch of paid hands up there and it's a whole bunch of people that are just trying to insert themselves versus when it really is beautiful. It's like when you have a whole bunch of people submitting and dying to their preference for the overall
just serving the church
purpose to take place. Yeah. And I think when people like you that are as gifted as you are and as talented as you are, as graced and anointed as you are, when they see you doing that as a forerunner, as a leader, it just is a domino effect of, man, the space that we're in, this worship space, it's actually so beautiful because it's actually about that. Now it's about worshiping Jesus. It's not about inserting ourselves.
Yeah.
What's been your experience kind of like that in terms of worship in church and how we can get so connected with our own, like it's, this is my art, or I need my solo or my thing.
Right.
It's easy to kind of like characterize that and make fun of it, but I kind of understand it. It's like, this does feel like a part of you, but even that's called to die.
Totally. Yeah. And I think to make it even worse, creative people are probably the most emotional people on the planet and most sensitive too. And that's been a big part of it too, is like, as good leaders, you have to be unoffendable. And so learning like to grow tough skin and understand purpose and why we've been given the gifts we've been given. For me, I mean, it's something I've been working through with some of my students. I tell them this all the time, like, hey, it's okay to like, because young leaders are always like, I have to die to, I mean, all leaders, we have to die to our flesh, but young leaders will be like, I have to die to any pride or any excitement with my gift. It's like, you can be stoked. Like, I know I'm a good singer. That's what God put me on this earth. I'm a singer. Like I'm a performer, and that's what God's gonna use me for. So for me, the balance that I encourage people to find is, hey, like you can be very self-aware and be like, hey, I want to make sure I don't look awkward because I don't want to be a distraction, not because I want people to think I'm awesome. I want to sound great, not so that people can praise my name, but that's I'm not a distraction, and that my voice is just helping be a vehicle for, people to worship our Lord together with. But it's okay to like be like, dang, I'm crushing it right now. This is so fun. Like I sound awesome. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, God, that you gave me this voice. And so that's kind of been how I've navigated it, is like, and how I vocalize it to my students or whoever is like, let's have fun crushing it. God wants us to be excellent. God wants us to continue, growing in our craft. But at the end of the day, like he could use anybody. So we're giving him our yes, and we're humbly partnering with heaven and with the vision for me at Oceans Church. And so I don't know if that really answers the question.
No, it totally
That's
answers
essentially how I see it, is like, I want to crush it for me because I want to be proud of myself, but I want to do it so that people have no distractions. They are moved by the talent God's given me, and that it just helps them. If anything, I pray that like what I sing helps soften their hearts to experience and encounter God.
I think what maybe I'm curious about is like how you just said, artists, we are emotional.
Yeah.
And you are artistic, not just as a singer, but maybe you're a songwriter, video, style, fashion. How have you learned over these 31 years of being on the earth how to grow and not being offendable, or going, hey, this is an idea, and it came from my heart and my ideation, but I'm gonna have another idea. Like this is not the one all that breaks all. I feel like that emotional state is what probably caps a lot of really talented people.
Yeah.
They don't know how to grow on a team. They don't know how to work with other people.
Right.
They don't know how to get their ego out of the way.
Yeah. A really cool phrase that another pastor, Pastor Mel Faust, said to me a couple weeks ago is, does it offend your heart or does it offend your flesh? And I think that's a big question that you have to ask yourself whenever your first instinct is to be offended. Like, are you offended because you have high conviction and that's the Holy Spirit saying, hey, that's not right? Or are you offended because it's not what you want? And I deal with some OCD stuff, and things have to kind of be a certain way for me. And so for me, it's like, is this just because it's not my way? Or if I pitch a lyric to a song in a songwriting session and no one likes it, like, am I going to be offended and ruin the whole situation and the chemistry and the unity that we're supposed to strive for just because I'm sensitive? Or, maybe, I'm with students and they say something that's actually out of pocket, and I have to actually, privately pull them aside. So for me, that's the gauge. It's like, does it offend your heart or does it offend your flesh? And the way I asked my follow-up question to her when she said this phrase was, well, how do you know the difference? And because I just wanted to know how she would describe the difference. And I think my response to that, I forget what she had said, but probably similar to what I'm going to say, I'm probably stealing her answer, is just further discernment and further wisdom comes from time with the Lord. So I think the more you're tapped into the vein and the Holy Spirit, that's going to help you kind of navigate, like, am I being offended because I'm sensitive, or am I being offended because God is saying, hey, this isn't right? Because you have to be unoffended. I mean, I can't even imagine the criticism you probably experience in your DMs, or the hate or the judgment. And it's just like, that can ruin a man, but it doesn't have to, because it doesn't matter, because you're continuing to do what you're called to do.
One of the things that's been interesting for me is like when I'm working with my wife, I could be like in a songwriting session, and if it was like you and me, like you could, I don't like that. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. But when I'm with Dawn Cherie, I get so annoyed at my wife, man, when she's shutting down my idea. I don't know why it hits me harder than anybody. I'm
100%.
like, it's like, I don't know if I'm like, you're supposed to be with me on everything. Yeah. But if it was you, I'm like, oh yeah, bro, it's a terrible lyric. It's a bad melody.
I'm the same way.
Dawn Cherie, I'm like, why don't you understand?
I'm the same way.
It's probably,
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's maybe because, maybe we care about them the most.
Yeah.
And so then we were hoping that they will like our idea. I don't know. Maybe it hits harder. I don't know. But it's funny with Dawn Cherie. I'm like, I get frustrated. We have to preach together, bro. It is a challenge.
Really?
Dude. Yeah. Like she's a very good preacher. I'm okay. But working together, like we just have a different process. It's like a creative process, right?
Yeah,
it's like, it's not a fun experience for me right now. And that breaks her heart because she's like, I know we're called to minister together. I'm like, babe, I know, but this makes up for a bad week. So we're growing in that category.
That's awesome.
I don't know what it is. I think it's maybe just we care about their opinion the most.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so. And you're so one that you'd expect them to think the same way as you.
There we go.
And so when they don't, you're like,
this is brilliant.
What?
What's wrong with you?
I show her a song. I'm like, babe, this is the next one. And so he'll be like, yeah, I don't really get it. I'm like, what?
Oh man.
And she's always right, But in my mind, I'm like, you're crazy.
Right? That hurts. You're like, dang.
Yeah.
So you go back there and you start you're still serving there now.
Yeah.
How in the world did you get to The Voice? You just said, let me go give this a go? Like,
no,
I don't know that story.
So I was in Phoenix still at the time.
Okay.
2016, 2017. So this is a couple years there. My music stuff starting to go. And we watched The Voice. We're fans of The Voice. And I am still a fan, but I don't watch it anymore. So this was after you see the sausage being made, it's hard to totally. I still love the show. I honor them and I loved working with them. But we were huge fans of the show, watched it every season. And I don't know, man. Like it was just one of those things. I watch it and I felt in my spirit like, oh, I'm gonna do that. And it wasn't like a pride thing or like, oh, I could do that. It was like I'm gonna be on that show. And so I was like, all right, there's auditions in Vegas. I'll take a road trip over with my buddy. So we went and auditioned. I almost made it. Like I did like callbacks, all the things because it's a long process to get on the show, like a year just to like do it. And so I went through a lot of the process. And then right before the filmed blind audition, I didn't make it. And so I was kind of embarrassed, like with my own discernment, because I was like, I really thought this, God, like that was weird. I didn't need to do all that traveling and all this time and emotional roller coaster stuff just to like, what was this? This is weird. And so I was kind of bitter about it. And, but I guess they keep a list of like almost good enough people. And so they reached out to me a couple times over the years for a couple different shows that they produce. And I just said no every time because I was butthurt. I was like, no, but then fast forward now back in California at this point in my life, our photo video business is doing well. We have 2 of them for corporate and for lifestyle fashion stuff. And we're doing well. Living in Orange County, 3 kids, making money. I'm teaching at the college at the time and I'm serving at Oceans and I'm trying to make this music thing work. And I had this moment where I was, there's 2 separate moments. This is a long version of the story. I'm sorry.
No, that's great. Got all the time in the world.
I found myself in my studio, in my office, on my face. It was a Sunday morning, like so early before call time. So it's probably like 6 a.m, laying on the floor, just crying out to God, just being like, I'm done. I don't know what you want me to be. I'm doing all of these things. I don't think it's even biblical to grind in this way. Like I don't have much margin for anything. I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. I don't want to be doing 30 different things. I want to be doing the thing that you want me to do. You're calling me to do. And not that what I was doing was out of line. I was just tired. Yeah. I was just like, God, I really want to focus in here and do the thing. What is that thing? I submit. I'll be a janitor. I'll be a teacher. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I'm done. And I go to church and it was like one of the most like groundbreaking worship services for me as a leader. Cause when you come with such a submitted heart, like the Lord can just do things, and that kind of is what started this new heart posture for me. Next conversation with my wife, I rarely cry, and I was crying. I was like, babe, I don't know who I am. What should I do? I like the entrepreneur thing. I'm good at this. Like I'm good at building clientele. I'm good at doing this video thing, but who am I? Who am I? My whole life I've been prophesied over that I'm going to sing. I'm going to lead worship. God's going to use me from a platform to speak and encourage people. And I was like, I need you to tell me. My wife's very discerning, and she's a psychology major, like very much like the counselor. It's like, I just need you to tell me I'm broken. I don't know who I am. And she's like, you're a singer. You're gonna do the stage thing. God's gonna use you in that way. I was like, okay. Okay. And then so right around that time, The Voice reached out for like the fourth time. And I hadn't heard from them in a couple years. And this is now well past COVID. So it's all digital now. Before, like the first time you stand in line in a stadium for 5 hours, it was like the OG way of doing these singing shows. So this time they're like, you just got to send a video. I was like, all right, whatever, I'll do it. It was the night before it was due. So I was like, okay. And I did like a Maverick City song, a Justin Bieber song, and something else. And fast forward a year later, I'm in the finale singing Gratitude. So it was crazy. And that's what's kind of started, it is what kind of started this new wave. I was never a Christian artist before that. I really had a heart for secular music. And I don't know if it was pride or if it was true calling, but in that season, I just really wanted to reach all people with more generic lyric. And then coming out of The Voice, just a whole nother story, but God shifted my heart. And through people like Forrest Frank and different conversations I had with people that really made me realize like, oh wow, there's a lot, at least in theory, there's a lot maybe I could add here and help and serve this genre. And so that's what started it all.
So why did you pick those songs on The Voice? Like, because if you had been making even these words, secular music, I know the difference in terms of going, I'm going to make music that's really overtly talking about God or worshiping God. What made you even select those on The Voice? And that was a year process? I don't understand.
Yeah, so
you're saying the beginning of that first tape or
because the
something?
audition, you can imagine thousands of people, right? And then they comb it down. You take like psych evaluations. Like they make sure like you're gonna like do well on the show before they put you on the show.
Yeah.
So it was a long process. And then like the first audition, we're in the hotel for a month just to prepare for a 30-second audition. So it's just like long because there's so many of us. So like I'll sit in a hotel for 8 days straight with nothing and then have a rehearsal.
What do you do with your business at those times?
So I was just editing. I was actually crushing it because I was just sitting in my room. I was producing some podcasts and I was just editing. So it was actually kind of cool.
I see what you're
so
saying.
I'm getting paid to be there minimum, but getting paid to eat at least. So I was just eating.
So you can do your other work.
So I missed my family. It sucked, but I was getting so much done.
Yeah, just completely focused.
But yeah, to answer your question, I only sang mainstream songs on the show, but I don't know if you're familiar with The Voice, but like when you get eliminated, once you make it certain to a
My
certain
brother-in-law
point,
was on The Voice.
Oh, sick.
Des Duran. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I
he
know
was
that
like
name.
the top maybe 8 or 10.
Yeah, heck yeah.
He's on Broadway now. He's
So
crushing
rad.
it.
That's so
Maybe
sick.
Happy Ending. If you're in New York, go check it out.
Dude, that's so cool.
That was many, many years ago though.
Yeah, so the rules are somewhat the same. So like once you get to a certain point, if you get eliminated or like bottom 2 or 3 or whatever, you sing a song to save your life. And so my song going out was always going to be Reckless Love. So my plan from the get-go was I'm going to sing the mainstream songs and then
Shout out Corey.
I was going to go out singing a worship song. And I love that song. And
I
so
love that song.
That was the plan. And then I made it to the finale. The fact that I even made it past the first round still blows my mind. I got all 4 chair turn. Like I didn't even think I was going to make it on the show. I was like, if I could get 1 chair, like I'd be so excited. So seeing me in the finale, they're like, so you have the choice.
Whose team were you on?
Blake Shelton.
You knew you were picking him?
Nope. Definitely wasn't going to pick him. And call it Holy Spirit, call it whatever. But I felt I was supposed to pick him and it took me all the way.
Who did you think you would have picked?
I wanted to pick Gwen Stefani just because I grew up in Orange County or LA. And
I'm just a girl in the world.
She's iconic and fashion and she does rock and ska and pop. She does all of it.
In the spider web.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
That album was fire.
Bro, that record.
I grew up on that record.
That record's a little bit older than you though.
Yeah.
But I guess being Orange County, it's like you go back and get that one, right?
And my dad,
I grew up on that record.
Dude, I love that record. So I
what a
figured
vibe too with the photo on the front.
Oh yeah, dude.
I mean, dude.
She's so sick. So I was all in to pick her.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick her.
Or Camila Cabello was the guest judge, but
Yep.
it was they plead their case for you, and I didn't. She called me a rock singer, and that freaked me out. Which ironically now I'm kind of leaning that way, but at the time I was like soul R&B pop, and so.
But
anyways,
why does Blake get it's
because
gone, dude?
I could tell he really believed in me, and I think it was the Lord because I felt in my spirit he was gonna give me freedom, and he totally did. He aside from just being a yes man, he didn't do anything. Like he just was like, yeah, I love it. And so I was sending the band stems, like tracks. I was recording stuff in my room and sending them each week. And my last rehearsal with the band, they're like, no one's ever made us work this hard before. Like literally, I was sending them charts.
Yeah, you're like, bro, welcome. I'm a worship pastor, bro. I've been on church staffs. We do everything, bro. I'm gonna make the visuals if you guys will let me.
Straight up.
What is this behind me? We're not putting up worship house media visual graphics. I got better stuff. Let me give you this. Right?
Yep. And
lighting cue, hit me here. People don't know about worship pastors at a small church. Like, you're gonna hit me here, and then the smoke rises, and then I'm gonna Psalm 23
That's
here,
it, right there. Yeah, it was.
So your whole plan is my whole way to like give glory to God is when I get booted, I'm gonna sing Reckless Love, and it's like there you go. This is what I was here for.
And then I make it to the finale, and they're like, you can sing Reckless Love because you rehearse it every week to make sure you're ready in case you need it. And they're like, or you could pick another third song. And so Gratitude live version had just came out, and I was like, this song's crazy. I hadn't really heard it before. But this song's really cool. And so I pitched it. They said no, and I pushed back. And long story short, got them to say yes after a couple of days, and ended up singing it. It's really crazy. And so Brandon Lake DMs me, and I'm like freaking out because, dude, I'm like, not a lot of followers, like just like hometown hero musician guy. Like so have Brandon Lake DM me. I was like, oh my gosh. And that's kind of what started like a somewhat of a friendship there. And did
he come on and perform it with you or something?
No,
or you guys did something else?
He came and sat in my car and we did like a reaction. Cause then I put out my own version a year later. I went to his show. I performed with him at his show.
That's what
you're thinking of. Yeah.
That was all really, really cool moments.
Really cool.
Man.
And that was all like the timing of all of it was totally the Lord.
But you're saying while that's all happening, that's also being transformative because it's like you're kind of having an awakening. If I don't want to put the right words, but it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I want to go make music, but I should be making worship music and making Christian music.
I felt like I was drying out. And I have a lot of friends that write secular. And first of all, the whole secular Christian thing.
I know.
It's so dumb. But in the industry, like there is a fine, like right now there's still a hard line. And there's artists, I like to think that I'm going to be one of them that's helping kind of blur it a bit more.
I think totally.
And it's just like, I'm a Christian that writes music. And some of it's going to be about God, some of it's not. But right now I'm leaning heavy on like Christian lyric just because I signed to a Christian label and it's been really refreshing for me. But my big thing was I just felt like I was drying out writing the same things over and over again from the 3% of my life that isn't all about Jesus.
Very good.
Just writing about like breakups and love songs, and I'm in like a healthy 10-year relationship. Like it just didn't make sense to me.
How many times can I actually write about getting arrested in high school?
Yeah, it's just
doing
like,
time.
Yeah, dude.
No,
like,
sorry.
And so I ended up just it's a story. But God just said, hey, I said, Lord, I can't reach both types of people. I can't reach the Christians and the people that hate the Christians. I want to reach all people. And he's like, that's not your decision to make. And I was like, okay. And so fast forward, I signed with a Christian label and it's been amazing.
Hey everyone, Rich here, and I want to let you in on something really special that's happening. You know, in the Bible, the number 40 represents something powerful. It's a season of stretching, of refining, of testing, of getting ready for what's next. That's exactly what Road to VuCon is all about. Starting May 11th, we're launching a 40-day relay run from Jacksonville, Florida to Miami, Florida, all leading us right to VuCon 2025. Now here's the best part. We're actually not doing it all by ourselves. We've got some incredible partners, other churches that are hosting and running with us. Churches like Journey Church and Christ Fellowship, Celebration Church, Colonial Church. They're opening their doors, hosting our team, and leading the charge in outreach in their cities. Here's the best part. You can be a part of it. Maybe you run a leg, serve at a stop, or track the journey and simply pray with us. This is more than a run. We believe it's a move of God. So VU family, let's run with purpose. Let's carry the good news on the road to VuCon. To sign up or find out more information, head to vucon.com/run today.
How does something like going on The Voice change your life in the sense of, or maybe it's those couple of weeks, like new opportunities, I guess, emerge out of that, or there's an awareness of who you are. There's like, there's a following base that grows.
Yeah, I think it's different for different people. But what I encourage people that are going on the show or want to be on the show, it's not your big break. Most people go back to waiting tables after that. You know, nothing really, you just get some more followers. It's a magnifying glass on what you're doing. So that's what I encourage people. If you're going to go on a TV show that showcases your talent, make sure your socials are already showcasing you as an artist. Make sure you have songs ready to go, merch ready to go. Like, because otherwise you're just gonna go back to doing the same thing. And most of my friends did, respectfully, and they're amazingly talented, more talented than me, but they weren't prepared for it, you know?
You feel like you knew that going into it a little bit? You kind of felt like you're like, oh, I'm just going to, like, this is not going to, I'm just going to use this as kind of a catalyst or a platform.
I knew going in, I think it was just discernment. Like I knew like I was going to have more eyes on what I'm doing right now. Also, it's not really the fan base my music commands either. So it took about a year to kind of shed some of the Voice fans respectfully and gain kind of my fans, because I'm posting pictures of me standing on a toilet in a restaurant. Like, you know, 65-year-old Kathy probably isn't going to think that's funny. And so some of them do. I had a fan a couple nights ago, bless her heart, probably in that age range, white hair, showed up with a t-shirt with a toilet with my head on it. Like, so I mean, I love my older fans. They're amazing. But needless to say, a lot of my Voice fan base didn't connect with what I'm trying to do now.
Sure.
And so although it looks good on my stats, I have all these followers, not all of them really get what I'm doing. Sure. Even now, 2 years later. So The Voice has been amazing. It gave me a platform to do some incredible things I never thought I would. It connected me with my record label I'm with now, connected me with friends that I'm, you know, even we wouldn't be having this conversation, you know? But the downside was, I think the audience is a little bit blurry for me still.
We were at an event in LA together, and I saw you in the crowd, and I made you come up and sing, which was awesome. That was crazy. By the way. But why were you at that event? Because you would have been there with Mark. I was with Mark. What we were at a pastor's gathering.
Yeah, it was Zoe, right?
Yeah, Zoe. That was super cool. It was
Chad's thing. Yeah, Mark just took me and some young leaders. And
that was so good.
I was just standing there worshiping. I'm in like a Harley shirt, like my voice isn't warmed up. He's like, come sing this song.
Well, bro, that's what happens when you have the microphone and you're a preacher. You can just, you know, like, all right, you can't really say no, you know? It was actually fire. It
was awesome.
It was beautiful.
It opened it up, man. It was really
I was powerful. At the end of the altar calls, and I saw Bodie. It's like, bro, I just saw you.
Yeah, that was
and
sick.
You came up, and it was beautiful. You're on this tour right now, Murder My Ego.
Murder My Ego.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I have a song called R.I.P. and it's just like dying to yourself. And so one of the lyrics is "Murder my ego, time to let me go." And so I was like, let's name the tour that. And that's just the heart I carry. I brought Gracie Binion with me. You know,
dude,
Gracie.
I've met her before. She's dope.
She's so sick, and she's
out here right now.
Yeah, she's at the hotel with her husband. That was the rule. I was like, I'll bring you, but you got to bring your husband. She's like, deal.
Tell her I said hello.
I will. Yeah, so they're amazing people, and yeah, we have a little band. We're sharing a band, so it's a small crew.
Give everyone some like insight, because like once again, they see you on The Voice.
Yeah,
they see your socials, amazing. I think you're so funny, and I love the way that you market everything. Like, bro, you're out here like working.
Yeah,
and I don't think people always get that.
I made $177 at my show last night.
Bro, you're making me laugh.
So
I love you so much.
This is the rock star life. I sold $300 of merch, made $177.
Bro, I love you.
Tickets.
That's too real. But in terms of like, what's the grind like in terms of, because have you done a tour before?
I did one before, and same vibe. We did West Coast, and it's last tour. I have an amazing group of intercessors praying for me this tour. Yeah. The fact that I'm doing this in the middle of a tour talking is crazy.
Because you normally wouldn't.
I was cooked last tour. I was vocal resting or singing on a stage for 2.5 weeks. And this tour's a month, and we're halfway in, and I feel amazing. So like that's literally a miraculous thing in its own. But dude, I mean, my tour manager he had to go lead worship at a conference for the last 3 days. So I've been single-handedly leading the tour.
What a legend.
Dude, we did a show in Louisville, as they pronounce it. And then I drove 3 hours that night, woke up the next morning yesterday and drove 10 more. And now we're here.
And what do you just find like a hotel, motel, wherever?
Yeah, we're just, dude, it's the Fairfield or Courtyard Marriott. It's free breakfast, clean beds.
Those are nice.
Yeah.
And when you get done with a show, you sit around and talk to everybody, or it's different how you feel?
Every single person at every show. That's just something that I want to do until I can't anymore. And right now we're in a special season where we'll have 300 people or we'll have 50. Some of these shows have been low, and I talk with my team, and we're just so grateful that these are the moments that probably won't last long, you know, just because what God's doing with Christian music is big. And so I'm really enjoying. So yeah, I'm at the merch booth after every single show, saying hi to every single person.
What do you, in terms of like your mindset when you go in and you're going to lead, you're going to perform, and let's say, you know, the crowd is massive. Let's say the crowd is really small. Is there any kind of little tricks or hacks that you have to go, I'm going to go all out for the same size? Or is it like, nah, bro, that crowd can take me to I'm going to give it a 10, but that crowd's going to take me to a 17. Like talk about that part of it, because that's
I
an
think
interesting thing.
It's the same for you. I mean, like preaching, singing, performing, whatever. I mean, if the crowd's hype, like you're going to go hard.
Yeah.
But 2 nights ago, Louisville, it was lighter. It was just a cold Saturday. Actually, no, it was really hot. And I just told my band, I was like, dude, let's just sound as good as we can and have as much fun as we can. And it ended up being one of my favorite sets. And I was like,
smart.
I was calling people out and like making fun of people because there's like not a lot of people. So I could like really
interact.
I was really interacting, and it wasn't as disruptive as if you're interacting with people in a crowd of 5,000, like people start yelling back and it gets a little bit more. This was more of a quiet, timid crowd. So it was honestly more fun than, I didn't go as crazy, but it was probably more fun than some of the bigger shows.
Well, I just think it's really wise whenever we're like, I think that people don't understand when you're doing something over and over again, like repeating it.
Yeah.
Maybe you're giving a message. There's, different messages in my life that I've given a lot of times.
Yeah.
I think that in order for something not to become just rote or routine, religious, boring, monotonous, you've got to figure out different kind of entry points of how you're going to engage with that thing. And I think that's really wise that you did that. Like, hey, meet up with the team and say, let's sound as good as we can. Let's bring it. I think sometimes when I'm speaking, you can walk into something and it's like, yo, bro, what is this thing that I just showed up to? And it's a room and it's 42 people in a 500 seater and they're scattered. It's like, you've got to kind of lead beyond just what you wrote down as a speech.
Right.
And so my premise is always like, I'm going to give it everything I have.
Totally.
And that's not about decibel or sound, but the people in the room, they can pull something more out of you if they come in with expectation or a desire or a want. Totally. Even talk about like going into like a worship set. It's like, it's amazing. Sometimes the conversations I hear around, like, sometimes we kind of like attack the symptom of something. We shouldn't have a clock. We shouldn't have a time limit. And I get all these different movements.
Right.
Really what we need though is just people to come in with an open, submissive heart. Yeah. Because if you have an open and submissive heart, it's amazing what can happen in 2 minutes.
Totally.
And what could happen in 2 hours. It's like, it's really more about the soil in which that seed's going into. Right. And I think sometimes we can attack these different things like, I want a preacher like this, or I want a worship experience like that. It's actually just powerful if we can create a culture and an environment where people are ready to receive. It don't take long at all. Right. Jesus talks about prayer and he's like, you who out there and just pray on and on and on, just babble. Right. It's like, I think the same thing can happen with our ministry or with whatever it is that we're doing. And so I find that fascinating.
God can do it in an instant. I mean, if sometimes, these, and I come from a church that is very flow and we can worship forever, but you don't need all that. Yeah. You don't. We love it because we want to sit in that environment forever. Totally. But I mean, dude, first service, we do 2 songs and we still get there,
Is that just because of times and?
It's 3 services. We're still figuring it out. We're growing fast. It's just like a weird season for us, but
we're in a weird season because we're in 4 different locations and I travel to 3 of the 4.
That's brutal.
And I love all of our teams, but in reality, all of our teams are like spread out. So like, I love our worship department, but they're not all together. They're all at different locations and they're working with all servant leaders, and shout out to all of them. And then because I travel to 3 of the 4 of them, they use video to, they spread out wherever I go, but you're walking into a new environment.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And you've got people coming through. And so it's funny, like it kind of at times creates a framework that I don't maybe always personally love in terms of my timing, or it feels a little bit disjointed, but I think God's grace is on it. And I don't think it's a forever thing. It's kind of like a now thing that is needed for creating the opportunities for people coming in.
Did you ever experience different spiritual climates between campuses on the same day?
Yeah.
Pretty significantly?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so. I think it's different people groups. I mean, we've got a church down in South Miami that would be a lot of young couples and kind of affluent and probably more like Latin, all the way up 40 minutes in North Miami and Miami Gardens, maybe older people. Totally different ethnicity. It's just, I feel like you walk into it, it's like, oh, I think as a preacher and as a minister, it's like, it's a good exercise. My role is to help bring a united culture, united mission and value. And that is happening. But you can walk in and it's like, I think spiritual climate might be a strong word, but that probably, that language would land with me, but certainly just a different room dynamic and environment. This one's got a 15-foot ceiling. This one's like a big room. And so different skill sets of team and people, but I think spiritual climate for sure. Like
it's interesting.
It is interesting, right? Just like walking into that and trying to figure out how to flow. I think I'm I think I'm learning
Yeah.
for sure. But that all goes back to this idea of like, it's not perfect conditions.
Right.
If you ask me like, what's my preference? My preference would be 24 to 25 minutes of like dynamic worship. You know what I mean? Not just 3 songs or 4 songs, but maybe more like 7 songs, tag, bridge, you know what I'm saying? Like doing some vamps, having some space, throw a hymn in.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to have someone kind of host for 5 minutes and just be really simple, you know, like, hey, welcome to our church, and connect with the audience. Not really any announcements.
Yeah.
Light offering. Thank you. Maybe sing again. Let me get up there 35 minutes in and let me warm up 5 or 10 and not be in my text yet. 5 minutes of that into my text, and then give me 45 minutes. And then give me another 10 to 15 on the back end. And it's probably an hour and 35 minute experience.
Boom.
It just doesn't work when you got to go 8:45, 10:30, 12:30, 6 p.m. and you've got to make sure that link is up.
Right.
And so rather than me just go, this is bad, and God's not moving, I just go, I think this is now.
Right.
And if I can continue to keep a team like your touring team or whatever going, let's just have an open heart to this right now.
Right.
God can give us a grace in the midst of what feels weak and disjointed or not exactly how I want it to feel. And it doesn't mean that one day we won't get to that exact kind of palette that I just described, but that's still, once again, just preference, right? Like it's not even, whatever I just described is not the more glorious way or the more beautiful way. It's just more like, this is what would feel really good to me and the way I would love to worship the Lord.
Yep.
And how many people, I think, pick and choose and leave movements or quit great opportunities like going on tour because not all the preference is perfectly put together. It's like, bro, you're missing out on something that could really grow and be beautiful.
Right. Yeah. I think it's dangerous to, I work with a lot of young leaders at Vanguard, and
what are you teaching over there?
I'm the worship director there. And so they're really, really kind. On paper, I'm the artist in residence. So
cool.
I'm able to do this and not be at things. So I oversee, right now we have 4 worship teams, and then I also teach in the music department. So it depends on the semester. Sometimes I'll teach songwriting. I have like a traveling like songwriting worship team too as well. So
very cool.
Oversee, right now it's 5 worship teams.
Why don't you guys come and write with VU Worship, man?
Let me know, man.
Please come help us. Yeah. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Keep going, but
so I do that. And so I work with,
but you were saying something, I cut you off twice. Sorry.
Oh, the worship leader thing. Yeah.
I don't know what we're in some weird, deep church programming.
We're so Christian-y right now.
Yeah, totally. I love it though. It's like one of those kind of conversations you just wouldn't have with anyone. I was talking about programming and just preference and purpose. I think we've kind of been on that a little bit, but you were saying.
I was just going to say it can be dangerous, especially with young leaders that critique. Because, oh my gosh, young adults, God bless them, man, but they think they know everything and they know not a lot of things. But they're growing in their wisdom. A lot of them are probably more in their text than I'd like to, I don't want to admit, but maybe not even that I'm in, like, because they're theo majors. So they're like obsessed, which is beautiful, obsessed with the text, but taking it so seriously that sometimes it can become almost like pharisaical. Pharisaical, is that a word? Yeah.
I don't know if it's a word, but I know exactly what you mean.
Pharisaical, it's like pharmaceutical, but
pharisaical. I don't think it's a word, but it's like a Pharisee, where it's like, dude, you've lost the spirit of the letter. You've got the law of it down pretty good, but you're missing out on who breathed it into existence and why it exists, and this thing has become a box for bad, rather than a space for you to know the boundaries of what God wants to do in your life.
Thank you for explaining that. That's exactly it.
Well, we're both in camo out here.
Yeah, we're kind of hiding.
We're camo Christians.
Camo Christians. But with that said, a question I asked them is like, hey, like, I understand you have these critiques and preferences, but like, what happens when you're plugged into church for 20 years? Let's say you're 75. And I saw this at my church, and I see these people, men of God, women of God, who know their text. They've probably heard this pastor that they've seen preach for 30 years. They've probably heard him preach this before. What's going to happen when you no longer feel like you're being necessarily fed on a theological level week after week? Because if you carry the same prideful, like, I want this instead of this, or this is better, it's going to be really hard for you to stay rooted in a local church when you feel like you've maybe outgrown it in a certain way. And just trying to encourage people, like, don't see church as, because especially in the student context, like, a lot of them see church as a classroom, which is great. Like, that it should be in a lot of ways. But like, what happens when you don't connect to that message? Because in chapels, we'll get people will talk crap about it. They'll be like, yeah, our chapels just don't go in the text enough, which we do, or they don't do this enough. It's like, hey, what happens though when you you and your family are invested in a church for 10 years and you decide all of a sudden that like they don't do this enough. Like, are you just gonna leave it? Are you just going to critique it? Or can you see the value in the fact, okay, there's community here. I get to worship corporately with these people. I have relational equity with these people. I can pray. I can, if my wife is sick, I have, there's so much more than just one little area that might tick you off, or, this church flows too much. There's not enough structure, or this church, the services are too long. It's like, to what end are we going to critique and find the perfect thing when really the sole purpose of gathering is to talk about the glory of God, experience the glory of God, and serve people. Like that's what it is, right?
Well, and I feel like what you're saying, a lot of people, it seems to me, like forget what the purpose of church is.
Yeah.
And I think that's always a really good fundamental thing to come back to. Like, what is the ecclesia, the gathering of God's people? What is that?
Right.
And I think it actually plays into a lot of things that I see happening today, because people can kind of create their own purpose for church, or their own mission of church. The church is meant to, feed the poor. The church is meant to end the water crisis. I think the church should do all those things, but that is not the sole purpose of the church, first and foremost.
Right.
I'm for every type of social justice thing, but the church's purpose, as you kind of study it, is first and foremost to worship God.
Yeah. Yeah.
To worship and know God.
Yeah.
That we gather because somehow in our gathering, there's a way that we're going to know him and we're going to magnify the glory of God. Do not forsake the gathering of saints. Something about just coming together. And if we can even just get that, like going to the gym. The gym is a practice and a habit.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, I don't know anybody who doesn't actually believe in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just know a lot of people that just don't go to the gym.
Right.
There's something even about church. And I actually recognize this in COVID. Like, so much of my life, I was just always in church, to the point that you almost like, it just becomes a habit. And then when that habit's taken away, you start to see like the consequence of that. I'm like, oh bro, I think the church actually saved me countless hours in therapy, because every week, whether I liked it or not, I would get up and for 20 minutes, I would sing songs, whether I believed in it or not, Bodie. This is actually a powerful concept.
Yeah.
And I'm singing about God, or I'm declaring you're good, even though everything in my life could be going bad. But here I am speaking faith, whether I believe it or not, I'm saying this out loud. Then I sit down and I listen to some guy, whether I like him or not, whether I agree. In fact, even disagree with him is probably good, to sit there and listen to someone open up. Where do we do this? There's no space in the world today. Right. Everything today is fed to me exactly based upon an algorithm of what I want and what I like. Yeah. There's something really powerful about church. It's like to worship God. Second, though, is to equip the saints. This is that kind of classroom vibe, but I don't think that the equipping of saints only happens through, knowledge and through information.
Right.
My little boys are in jujitsu right now. Same. And when you go to jujitsu class, what you see about the teachers is that they are doing all of the moves with them. It's on the mat. Like, they don't teach behind a desk and say, and then, move number 1 looks like, no, they have to actually get in there. And so much about the equipping of the saints, spiritual formation happens in community, doing the thing together. Yeah. It's not just the knowledge. I think we live in a time right now where we do so much commentary on Jesus, right? Like you and I are kind of talking about Jesus right now, and we go to church and there's commentary on Jesus and YouTube's but I think that the equipping of the saints is actually getting on the mat and getting to know Jesus together.
So good.
So serving and giving our gifts. This is all formation. And then the last part is to evangelize the world. Yeah. Those are 3 key buckets: worshiping God, equipping the saints, and then evangelizing the world. I actually think it actually should happen in that order, by the way. But it's dangerous. And we've all been there. I've been there. I'm sure there's parts of me right now that I'm blind to it, but we can become critical and jaded and, in your words, pharisaical. Yeah. But that's a dangerous spot, because I think, here's how I would say it: a critical spirit turns into a doubting heart. My favorite little illustration of that is, I think it's Matthew 28, when Jesus is the resurrected Jesus. He's resurrected from the grave. Dude died. Yeah. They all saw it. Now he's walking around alive. And the scripture says that as he ascends to heaven, many believe, but still some doubted.
It's crazy.
How on earth you going to doubt the man who resurrected from the grave? Now he's ascending. Yeah. I'll tell you how it happens. It's because you spent your entire existence criticizing every move that he made, all of his followers, that now when you see the greatest miracle of all, a man crucified and now resurrected and now ascending to heaven, if you spend all that time criticizing, now your heart is full of doubt. It doesn't matter what you see, what you hear, you will not believe.
Yeah.
And that's the danger, I think, of what happens to so many young Christians who kind of get ambitious and zealous for the Lord, but somehow miss the Spirit of God at work.
Totally.
And I know I've been there before in my life.
Totally.
And probably some area of my life right now, there is some sort of critical part.
Right.
But we have to kind of be wrung out, if you will, of those parts. We have to murder my ego.
Murder my ego. Let's go.
Murder my ego, bro. Murder my ego.
Pretty intense, huh?
It's very intense.
The lyric says, murder my ego, time to let me go. Knife to my conscience, love to my people. Follow my call, this light is too lethal. Put my pride in the ground. Let's go, dude. That's bars.
That's bars, bro. I saw you perform that at Baptize America, I think it was last year.
Oh,
in jean shorts.
Heck yeah, dude.
Did you have Oakleys on?
I don't know what I had on.
You gotta get those Oakleys though.
I got it right. Yeah. I look dope. I don't remember what it was, but.
Who dresses you? How do you pull this together?
I have a friend named Rexella who does my bigger stuff. And then I like to dress myself too. It's fun.
And you always keep your hair long?
Yeah, dude, I have alopecia. So my hair doesn't even grow on top or like the sides. Like I was bald in most of my high school. Like no eyebrows, nothing.
Really?
Yeah, and it came back and it comes and goes. So this is my natural hair color. Like it's just weird.
How did you get alopecia? How does it happen?
It's an autoimmune disease. So like sophomore year in high school, I could like grab I had brown like Justin Bieber hair, you know, and I grabbed it and just pulled chunks out and then everything fell out, eyebrows. And then it came back for college and most of my young adult life and then started falling out again and then grew back white. Super weird. So now it's growing back like white and black, which is weird. And it's
so interesting.
It's so weird. So yeah, I keep it long just because I wear hats.
Was that hard finding out you had that or?
Yeah, it sucked. But I mean, it's easier for guys, I think, to be bald for sure.
Yeah.
And it was hard, but I mean,
I feel like you've embraced it and you make it mad cool. But
yeah, now it's tight.
But you probably didn't know how to do that in high school.
I didn't have eyebrows, bro. Like that sucked. Like I had no hair anywhere. So it was definitely like people made fun of me. But I was a big guy, so you know.
You could defend yourself.
Yeah, I was cool with everybody. It wasn't like super traumatizing, but yeah, it sucked. I mean, it was traumatizing, but the bullying part wasn't.
I didn't know you had alopecia.
Yeah.
Is that common?
Alopecia is what I've never seen someone with white hair like this from it before. So I think this is super rare. But as far as alopecia, like a lot of people have like little bald spots.
I thought you bleached your hair. I was trying to be like you with this crazy bleached hair over here.
Dude,
I was trying to be
get alopecia.
I was like, bro, I'm trying to be like Bodie. I have a spot in my beard that's super bizarre. It's like a bald spot. And I thought it was alopecia, but it wasn't.
Dude, we could have almost been
alopecia. Brothers, camo alopecia brothers.
Dude.
What year were you when you found that out? It's just one day your hair started falling. You're like,
yeah.
Mom.
I saw a bald spot and then went to the doctor and they're like, oh yeah, you're cooked. And then I just pulled it out.
But you don't have it before that?
No.
You get it?
I don't know.
Okay.
It had to be in my DNA somehow.
Any of your kids have it?
No. It's not I don't believe it's what you call it. Generic? No. What's the word?
Hereditary.
What, generic wasn't even close.
That
That was crazy. I've driven for like 14 hours.
No, bro. We should start doing a game. Let's use other words, but with authority. Like,
Okay.
you know, I don't think it's authentic. What's that?
Yeah.
I can't pass it to my kids. It's not authentic.
That's actually really
we just
good.
start using words and it's like, but you just do that. You can do that. And like people go, yeah. But they know what you mean, even though it's not at all.
If you say it with enough confidence, I think people would rock
It's not
with it.
generic.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. No, yeah. My
Beg
kids
your
won't get
pardon?
it. It's not generic. So. Yeah.
Bro, I love that. How do you make these clips? Like you did this thing for this video that came out the other day. And like, I feel like there's so many scenes of like you like, you know, doing these like stunts and stuff like that.
Oh, the stunts.
Yeah. Like how long does this stuff take? Like these are just all your own ideas.
That was a music video. So I shot my last song I put out. Can I say this? The show Jackass? Can I say that?
Yeah.
Do you remember that show?
Of course.
Sorry,
I love that
sorry,
show.
Lord.
Did you ever watch CKY or?
Yeah, the band. That band.
It was like
CKY.
But BAM's they had videos before.
Oh no,
all
way.
that stuff.
Is that what inspired it? Probably.
Yeah, or can't. Is it? I think CKY stands for Can't Kill Yourself.
Yeah.
So it was Bam Margera and this other guy, and they were all part of that.
Yeah,
crew.
and they were a band too.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
But yeah, so anyways,
those videos are nuts, by the way. If you ever can find those DVDs, I used to have those too in college.
Yeah, I think that's worse than
that and the Lonnie
Point,
Frisbee.
That was worse than the Point Break reference. Yeah, don't watch this, but yeah. So I grew up on those shows, and I thought those dudes were crazy for doing all these stunts and stuff. So anyways, I had a song come out a few weeks ago, so we shot a music video that was just me doing crazy stunts and like. I hung from a tree as a piñata and had kids like hit me with baseball bats and covered myself in snakes and went down like 60 stairs on a kid's tricycle, like just doing crazy stuff.
Did you get hurt?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What was the one
I
in the
didn't go to
back of
the
that
hospital.
truck?
Oh, I filled a U-Haul with water balloons and then had my buddy just freaking throw me around in it. That hurt.
I feel like you could like really, really get injured, dude.
Yeah, I didn't have any. I have one permanent energy. I have one permanent energy from.
Bro, this is my favorite thing.
But it's not generic. It'll be fine. No, I have like nerve damage in my hips from the ropes that hung me from the tree. Like still, like my like legs are numb from it. But it was worth it, dude.
What does your wife think about when you're doing this stuff?
She directed it.
So these are part of her ideas.
Oh, dude, yeah. She creative directs everything I do. She
does.
She's brilliant. I edit and direct, and she assistant directs and produces everything we do. And she writes the music with me. She shoots all my album art. But anyways, yeah, it was a mess.
And she just can't go on tour because you got 3 kids at home?
Yeah. I mean, the van life is gnarly. Once we get to the bus, maybe we can take them along.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're working on right now. You're on tour.
Yeah.
And what's coming up in your life?
I haven't even officially announced it yet, but I'm dropping an album in the fall.
Let's go.
And it's the sickest songs I've ever done. And so we're trickling those out over the next few months, and lots of cool music, lots of cool visuals, shooting a lot of cool stuff on the road too. So
yeah. Right over here in my Airstream, you know.
Oh yeah, dude. So anyways, yeah, I'm pumped, bro. A lot of special things.
So we call this the Mature Me podcast.
Yeah.
What's an area in your life right now that you're like, I've got to mature in?
Shoot. All of the areas. I would say, dang, God, you caught me off guard with that. I think what's really important in this season for me has been learning how to be as present of a father as I can. And I'm new to this traveling lifestyle with the music, and I'm 10 years into marriage, but I'm still young as a father, and I'm really feeling the weight of being gone. And how can I be present in the moment? And when I'm gone, how can my kids be confident in what I'm doing is for the Lord and not for myself? And so for me, I think really maturing in the ways of building discipline with my calendar and making sure I'm intentional, and I'm being a present father and a present spiritual leader for my kids, because my wife knows my heart, but my kids may not. And so that's been an area this past like 6 months where I've been like, I gotta lock in. I gotta improve this, because I want my kids to be proud, and I want them to see a godly father and not a rock star father.
You have 3 kids. What are their ages?
7, 6, and 4.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, brother.
Yeah, dude.
I have a 7, 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and
Killer.
a newborn.
Dude, that's nuts.
They're amazing.
Bless you guys. That's gnarly.
I just took my daughter a couple of weeks ago. First time ever. The older boys, I have a 5 and a 7-year-old boy. Man, I've traveled the world with each one of them.
So cool.
I just try to bring them along, different stuff. My oldest, when he was 5, we flew to Singapore together.
So sick. How long is that flight?
Bro, that's a journey, man. That's a journey. And he just watched movies the whole way.
He probably did better than you.
He crushed. But my daughter has been kind of put up boundaries. I feel like, there's girls are different. At least has been my experience.
Definitely.
But a couple weeks ago, first time ever, we went on a daddy-daughter date night, and we went and stayed at a hotel.
So fun.
2 of us got dressed up, took her on a date, put a jacket on.
So fun.
Got steaks. She likes steak and milk.
Yeah. Yes.
Took her to ice cream. I think that desire that you have is from the Lord.
Yeah.
And one of the things, my dad, for whatever it's worth, my dad traveled till I was 14, 5 days a week.
Wow.
He was an itinerant evangelist. His schedule was to fly out from Seattle, 5 a.m. on Saturdays. He would arrive, Saturday afternoon or evening at a church, preach Sunday morning. And then back in the day, their whole flow was like, you do Sunday morning church, and then he would be like, come back for Sunday night. And then he would do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in public schools. And then they would do like what you'd call like a revival service, but it was up to him essentially as the artist, as the preacher, to gather a crowd at that church.
Wow.
And then he would fly home on Thursday. So my dad would usually pick me up from Thursday from school, and then he would, drop me off on Fridays. We'd do something Friday night as a family, and he was gone on Saturday. That was my first 14 years. He did that for 22 years, but my first 14 years on the earth, my dad was gone like that all the time. But one of the things my dad did that was so helpful, and I think you're probably already thinking this way, was just that he was so intentional with just making memories. And it's weird when you have kids, like when you have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old, whatever you're going to do this summer is the only summer you will ever get with your kid as a 4-year-old.
Dude. That wrecks my heart whenever I think about it like
I
that.
know, bro. It's
special.
melting ice.
Yeah.
And I think it's good for our heart to be wrecked. And I think it's good for us to be aware of it.
Yep.
Because we kind of keep thinking we're going to make up time, but you're not going to make up time. And the only person that won't forget that you worked long hours are your kids.
Yeah.
The only person that's not going to forget that you didn't take any days off will be your kids. There's nobody else that's going to be applauding that.
Yeah.
And that's not to condemn any of us. It's just going, I think with your line of work, and even me, I don't think I travel to the degree that you do, but it's going, man, how do I make great memories? How do I make great moments? How do I create great experiences?
So
you might not get the frequency or even the proximity that you want, but you can make the duration and the intensity what you're looking for. And I feel like with the life that God's given you, that you are able to go and have incredible, crazy experiences. I think my dad did a good job at making sure that those weren't just for him.
Yeah, that's so good.
Bringing them along on some of that stuff. And that's what Don and I just try to bring the kids along into our life and step into our world. And I feel like the world that you're creating, you can do that, But what a beautiful desire and goal. I feel like
that's encouraging what even you said. That's
well,
good
I feel like that you're convicting me right now. It's like, melting ice though, bro.
Yep.
We're going to wake up one day and
dude, don't even say it.
Walking my daughter down the aisle. Rich, come on, go.
Dude, I used to shoot weddings, and every time the father-daughter dance, my wife shoots too, so we'd look at each other and just be like crying, going into the camera.
You hear that Post Malone song for his daughter?
Mm-mm. Oh, yeah. He did, yeah, dude.
Yeah. What's the bar? It's some good. It's not Christian bars once again, but it's
I don't know. I'm not gonna listen
it's
to
something
it
like it made me cry, dude. She might be your only love, but she was my first. Like,
yeah, dude.
Before it was white, her first dress was pink. Oh, I'm getting chills.
Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
I'm getting chills. Bro, I love you very much.
Love you, man.
Thank you for all that you're doing. We celebrate you. We're behind you. And I just think that God's hand's upon your life. And there's just no telling all the places you're going to go, all the things you're going to do. And if you ever need a friend here in Miami or wherever we're at in Florida right now,
Jurassic
we're
Park.
always here. We got to get you to VU though.
Down.
We're doing that.
Down.
That's done. That's
Good.
happening. I love you. This is
Love
Bodie,
you.
everybody. Leave us some comments. Leave us some questions. Thank you if you're sticking around an hour and 14 minutes out of our Mature Me on the Move. We love you guys. Stay tuned right here. Tuesdays, always more content coming. We love you.
The second we convince ourselves we're too tired for church is the second we think that church is about us. We don't go to church to give. We go to church to give to God. We go to church to worship God. We go to church to learn more about the Father, because when we learn about the Father, we give more glory to Him. We're not going to church just to gain. We're going to give something to Christ. Hey there, it's Bryce Crawford. I'm so excited to be in Miami, Florida this summer for VuCon 2025. I want you guys to join me for 3 incredible transforming days of worship, arena sessions, workshops, and more. If you are looking to expand your community, personalize your faith, and invest in your future, this moment, I believe, is for you. Get your tickets today at vucon.com. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be such a special time, and I'll see you guys there.
He is the I am, and you are the amen. It is your agreement that brings the anointing. It is your obedience that brings the breakthrough.
They could keep talking junk all they want. We're going to be serious about the Lord's business.